We are recording. Okay. Welcome to On the Line. I'm Jenny Robb with USTA Alabama, and we are celebrating Tennis Month. And I'm so excited to introduce Lindsay Song. She is a native of Birmingham, Alabama, and is currently a senior at Auburn University and a student athlete all the way through. So, Lindsay, we just want to hear a little bit about your journey. How did it all begin?
So, my family always loved playing tennis. Like my parents play. I have an older brother, Brian, and an older sister, Elaine, who also both played junior tennis, and my brother played college tennis as well. Um, and they're like quite a bit older than me as well. So I kind of saw them go through the junior circuit at first and kind of their process. So and my parents again both play, so we were always out on the courts, and it was kind of like a family affair to start out with.
Right.
And I my parents, they didn't like push me into it, but they were just kind of like, you have to try it, and if you don't like it, or however, like whether you want to play college tennis or whether you want to, go through junior tennis and stuff, like that's up to you, but like at least play for fun so that we could all play. And that was probably like when I was 5. But I didn't play competitively like at all. Like that was literally strictly just for fun, taking
Uh-huh.
lessons, summer
Mhm.
camps, all that. So to be honest, I didn't really start taking it seriously, and like, where you stop everything else, like stop soccer and gymnastics and all of that. I didn't really do that. I didn't really take it competitively until probably 11. Yeah, 10, 11, somewhere around there.
So, did you
Um,
play other sports? What other things were you involved with
yeah,
before just tennis?
honestly, it wasn't even just athletics. Like I was with soccer, I liked gymnastics for a while. Um, but even beyond athletics, it was just like being a kid, and
Mhm.
enjoying summer. So I did like a lot of summer camps. Kind of like I was a Girl Scout. So I did like
Yeah.
I would sign up for like summer camp, like, you'd go to like the ranches and like
Mhm.
have horses and stuff, and like, just typical like summer camp I would
Right.
go to. I'm trying to think. I also enjoyed swimming. That was kind of
Okay.
a more of a fun thing, but I enjoyed swimming. And then even like during the school year, I actually really liked. I remember joining like drama clubs, and I
Yeah.
used to love doing like after school plays, production, and things
Okay.
like that. So yeah, it was just about like just being a kid and like signing up for like everything, like,
Yeah.
and just having fun. So, um, and then again, 10, 11, when I started taking it seriously, that's when I kind of, strictly just went straight to tennis practice after school. And, summers were taken up by USTA tournaments and things
Mhm.
like that. But it was super fun because like I met my closest friends and I got to work with cool people like you. So it's been super fun. It's been super fun to like the journey, like it started out like really just fun, and it still was all throughout high school. And then I started online schooling
Mhm.
7th grade. Yeah,
Okay.
7th grade. I went to public school up until 6th grade, and then 7th grade was when I started online schooling.
Okay.
And that was like a really popular thing with my generation, like
Yeah.
of tennis players, because I remember like this is when oops, sorry. I remember this is when I remember this is when like people started going to Florida, for the
Right.
academies and stuff, and like that became like a popular thing to actually like
Mhm.
move from like
Mhm.
hometown and go online schooling and stuff. And so, but like my parents didn't want me to go all the way to Florida
Mhm.
for academies and stuff. So I mainly just played out of Birmingham and just like traveled to as many tournaments as I could, and like found anyone that I could to hit with. And
Mhm.
that was all throughout high school, and junior, senior year was when I learned about college recruiting process, and
Mhm.
um, what like learned kind of like what it's going to take and what it means to be a student athlete. And like,
Right.
obviously it's not going to be easy, but I think online schooling helped me with that.
Mhm.
Um, because when I online schooled, and that was another online schooling was my decision. And
Mhm.
my parents were like, okay, but when you do this, like you do realize like it's not just going to be you just sitting around doing nothing. Like
Right.
you have to fill up your time. The
Right.
reason why we're
Right.
online schooling is for the flexibility
Right.
to play and travel. So I think online schooling really gave me an idea of what student athlete life is like in college, because it takes a lot of balance and it takes a lot of time, time like scheduling and um, just making sure that like you do realize like you've got a good like chunk of dedicated tennis, and then
And
you kind
and
of like work around everything after that.
and I gotta tell you that, I mean, I don't think that's an easy thing.
Yeah.
I mean, for you to manage your time and you know, be in charge of your training schedule, your hitting schedule, your tournament schedule, and still making sure, because I know what a dedicated student you are as well. So you're taking care of your academics, and you're also managing, like you said, the balance between your academics and your athletics. That is not an easy choice. So that's pretty cool, how dedicated and committed you were to make that happen, and continue the balance, which you have. I mean, I know your family.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so cool.
Yeah.
so,
No,
so yeah.
I look back at it now and I'm just like, wow, I can't believe as a seventh grader, I like I wanted to do
Right.
that. I was ready. I was, like you said, excited to manage my own practices, figure out my tournament schedules, things like that at such a young age. And when I was going through it, I thought, oh, this was normal. And I had a lot of
Right.
friends who were doing the exact same
Right.
thing.
Right.
So yeah, it was like a norm. It was like a trend almost. I was like, this is normal. But then I'm looking back at it, I'm like, yeah, no, that's not normal.
Well,
Definitely
and
like wise beyond my years, I guess.
no, you absolutely. But I also just want to say that, there can be this idea that then you're isolated. But you are not isolated. You are a social girl. You have tons of friends, and outside of the tennis community, even though that's a huge community too. But
Yeah.
that sort of stereotype that exists out there, that you don't fit that.
Oh, thanks, Jenny.
But I mean, like you said, as a seventh grader, to take that on and make it work, and
Yeah.
you've thrived. I mean, so that's been fantastic. So you're a senior now at Auburn, so you're still representing Alabama. What was it like, all those years that you got to represent Alabama, being part of Team Alabama, whether it was Southern Cup or at the Southern Closed when you're Team Alabama, and you kind of have that. That's a cool thing. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
responsibility. There's a little bit of pressure, but it's like you're representing your state. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, it is. That's such a good point to bring up as well. Like Alabama, out of the southern states, wasn't necessarily like the strongest
Right,
state
right,
of
right.
tennis, and because I compared to like Georgia, where the like
Oh,
tennis players were popping out like crazy.
well, yeah. I mean, there's
Um,
more tennis players in Atlanta than in the whole state of
yeah,
Alabama. So
exactly,
it's just different.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And like I mean, even when we would go to Southern Cup, even like states like North Carolina and South Carolina had like really good tennis players and like
Yep.
really
Yep.
good groups of them, like academies, and I think that was the hardest part about Alabama is we didn't have like a central academy.
Right.
But it still made me really proud to almost even more proud to say like, hey, there's not a lot of tennis players out coming from Alabama, and there's not like we don't have a main big academy, but at least I'm here,
Right.
to essentially at least
Absolutely.
like,
Oh,
and
100%.
it almost made that bond when you found other tennis players from Alabama. It almost made that bond stronger. Like me and Maddie are still close to this day, obviously being
Yeah.
teammates, and like I still keep up with like Vincent
Yeah.
and hearing even people younger than me like Maggie White, playing tennis at UAB. So it made that bond stronger. And I definitely think that going to Southern Cup or representing Alabama at Southerns and even zonals,
Mhm. Mhm.
You could tell when you found another Alabama tennis player, it was like you got close, you know, and it was normal to like go to Southerns and ask for a warm up from another, you know, Alabama,
Right.
like another person from Alabama. And so, whereas like Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, it's like you had your academy and that was it.
Sure.
You didn't really, I didn't see at least like them socialize as much. It was
Yeah,
just like,
there
I
wasn't as
would
much of a structure in place. Yeah.
exactly. So at like Georgia, it's like I would see like all of like the lifetime academy players and stuff. And it's like, again, they had their warm up and they stuck together, which is great. But I think it's cool to like when you ran into, you know, a tennis player from Alabama, it was just like, oh, let's warm up, let's play doubles, let's do this, let's do that, you know. So
Right.
I think the bond was definitely special and close. And again, being able to represent Alabama was so cool. And then especially even going forward to like national tournaments, you know, like you're and especially some tournaments you were even sometimes the only southerner, you know,
Right.
so
Right.
it
Yeah.
was really cool to represent like that on on even a bigger scale too.
No, well, I mean, everything that you're saying is just so encouraging, and I think will be encouraging to younger players that are, following the path that you had. And I love hearing that you're still in touch with all the girls that you were on the team with. I mean,
Yeah.
I won't go too far down memory lane here, but but I remember you and like Darren and
Yeah. And Jamie Martin.
yes,
Yeah.
Jamie,
Oh,
and we all had Priyanka, I think was in that group, and
yeah.
but the girls that were there, I think I was with y'all at the 12s and then
Yes.
the
I
14s.
still have that picture too.
Yes,
I
me
still have
too.
the picture from 12 and unders.
But it just goes to show what tennis can offer outside of obviously the health benefits and
Yeah.
the college experience that you can track, but just taking those things off the court, that you have those other people that know what your experience is like, and so you already share that bond, and
Yeah.
that's a pretty special thing. Yeah, yeah. So your plans are, we have to talk a little bit about COVID. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
You're, it was your junior year when COVID hit
Yes.
last year? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So as a junior, COVID hits, and so your plans kind of go sideways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you navigate the whole COVID interruption?
It was crazy per usual. Like, I mean, that's like the first word people think of, like, is this actually happening?
Right, right, right.
um, and so I will never forget the day too, where when our coach like brought us into the locker room, it was just like, and we were actually that weekend we were supposed to play Alabama. We had a match scheduled against Alabama
Wow.
at home, and so we were gearing up for that. We were focused, and then um, at first, only it got suspended. Play got suspended. So like they were like all matches from this date to this date have been canceled, but they hadn't canceled like NCAA championships yet, and they hadn't canceled like the SEC tournament. They
Okay.
essentially was just like pause. And so
Mhm.
like our coach was like, all right, we're still gonna train then. Like we're gonna stay here. And our school hadn't closed down yet either.
Right, right.
So he was like, we're just gonna, keep training and attend everything like normal. But then the university announced their shutdown, NCAA, all of that got canceled. SEC eventually got
I just
canceled.
can't even,
Like
that was such a wild time. I mean, I remember
exactly.
the first thing that sort of, when it registered that this was like a big deal, was I remember reading a news story on my phone, like, and it was like Indian Wells canceled, and
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I was like, what? Because this was like
Yeah.
right at the very beginning. And so I was like, Indian Wells is canceled. I was like, that's
Yeah.
crazy. And then you saw all the
Uh,
professional sports fellows, like,
yeah.
NBA, baseball, everything just
Yeah.
started. It was like dropping like flies, but it
Yeah.
was, I remember like they canceled Indian Wells, and I so didn't get it. I was like, I
Yeah.
can't believe they canceled Indian Wells.
Yeah.
And then it
Oh,
was
I
like
know.
French Open. Wimbledon.
Wimbledon was
Like,
mine for
boom,
me.
boom,
I
boom,
was like,
boom.
I can't believe they just canceled Wimbledon.
So that's sort of from the bigger picture, but for you as a college
Yeah.
student playing tennis, I mean, it rocks your world. It rocked
Yeah,
everybody's world.
for sure. And like just to have practice even, and like your day-to-day routine just be stopped suddenly.
Right.
And like I also again knew it was gonna be this was something big, and my coach was like, this is something bigger than just tennis, was when the president of the United States, announced the national lockdown.
Right. Right.
And we're just like, oh my
Yeah,
goodness, like,
it's something
oh
you've never experienced before, and so you're just kind of like, how do you react? You have no point of reference, so you're just like, what in the world is happening right
yeah,
now?
exactly.
But you moved forward in a just like the seventh grade girl that was managing her time. So you have exciting news going forward. So the next steps for you. Tell us what your next steps look like.
Yeah, so as you said, I'm a senior, and I'm planning on graduating this August. And, as awful as COVID was and our season getting cut short, NCAA did grant all spring sports an extra year. And at first, I wasn't going to take it. But then, after talking with my parents and my coach as well, I have decided to move forward and actually still continue on playing college tennis, just not at Auburn. So I will be transferring to Sanford as a grad student, and I will be getting my MBA, which
That
is
is
super
so
exciting.
exciting. That is so exciting. And
Yeah.
that's my alma mater. So I have to say, go Bulldogs. Um, but so we're glad to have you staying in the state of Alabama, and you continue to represent Alabama so well.
Oh,
So tell us a little bit, just as far as what a student athlete's schedule looks like. So
yeah.
what does that look like?
It's well, first of all, it also varies from college to college, and it also varies on, the like level of like college, like D3, D2, D1. But even within D1, there's also those smaller schools that
Right,
are maybe a little less intense than like SEC, ACC.
right.
Um, and so it just kind of all depends on what program you choose. But in terms of like an SEC student athlete life, like it is definitely time consuming. That's how I would describe it first.
Okay, okay.
Because you have a chunk, like a big block that is constantly blocked out for tennis, like
Okay, right.
every single day, basically. And so I'll take you a day in the life of my schedule this semester. I had individuals twice a week, and that was in the morning. So I
Okay,
had an individual like 8 to 9 a.m. And then you had your classes, whether that was online or in person. Obviously, with COVID, things are different. But you had your classes. Usually, you tried to schedule your classes in between that time. So, like, I think I had like a couple classes from like 10 to 11, 11 to 12.
mhm,
Um, this year, weights was on Tuesday and Thursday
mhm,
from 11:45 to 12:45, and then we went to practice right after that.
mhm, mhm.
And so normally, to generalize it, normally our practice times are like Monday through Friday, 1 to 5, basically. Like, and
That's
obviously we're not,
a chunk of time.
yeah, exactly. And obviously you're not hitting, like 1 to 5,
Right.
but when it comes to being a student athlete, you also have to take into account the discipline, and that includes being on time. And
Yep.
being on time isn't like, if you have a 1 o'clock practice, it's not really 1 o'clock.
Right,
You
right.
have to
Of course not.
get to the
Yeah.
courts. You have to get to the courts around 12:15,
Yep.
12:20, so that you have time to get your bag together, get your drinks together. If you're injured, you have to go see the trainer and, make sure that you're properly taped, or any of the injuries that you may have. Take a look at them before you go to practice, and you have to be running and warming up by 12:50.
Right.
So
Right.
that is why, and then you're hitting from like 1 to 3:30, maybe a little bit of fitness after, just depending
Mhm,
on what the coach has planned,
mhm.
and then foam roll recovery, stretching,
Right.
So that is why, like, yes, you may only be hitting from 1 to 3, but the actual reality and the chunk that you need to plan out is like more like noon to like 4. So,
Thank you for sharing that reality with us.
yeah.
I think people don't really understand, like you said, the word discipline, the discipline that it takes to really commit to all those things that aren't necessarily written out,
Yeah,
but they just are
exactly.
like, this is what you do. And
Exactly.
that amount of discipline, there's a lot of research about how student athletes make great employees or employers in the work world after.
Exactly.
And I have to agree. I mean, because you've been doing this like your whole life, really managing your time and prioritizing, and it's kind of the whole mind body spirit thing. You have to take care of your hydration and nutrition.
Yeah,
You have to take
for
care of
sure.
your fitness outside of the tennis. Then you have to take care of your tennis, but then there's also your studies, your academic life, and
Exactly.
then there's just the balance of hanging out with friends and being a college
Yeah.
student.
Yeah.
So it is a lot to manage, and then you throw COVID into that, and it's like, oh my goodness,
Yes,
how do you juggle?
for sure. Yeah, it's
Um,
like when you sign, like, definitely, like, I always say, like, I would love my kids to play tennis or any sport, but I wouldn't, again, push college necessarily, like college athletics on them. If
right,
it's something that they want to do, that's awesome. But I my advice, to people who are thinking about college tennis would be like really think about what you want, in a college program. Really think about like, do you want tennis to be your priority when you head into college? Because if you sign up for an SEC school or a big time sports program, that will be the case. There will be times where you can't sign up for a specific class that you want to just because it's in practice time,
right,
and
right,
obviously you're gonna have like friends like who aren't maybe athletics who are have so much free time during their day, has so
right,
much whatever, to hang out and to have fun, and like you'll be practicing,
right.
so that's just kind of something to know going in when you sign. It is a full-time commitment.
Yeah, it's a commitment, and you are so driven, and that seems like something that's just innate in you. You seem to just,
Oh.
I mean, you just seem so joyful about it. Like, it is so much hard work, but you just kind of have a glow of leaning into that dedication and commitment. So thank you for just showing us and explaining to us a little bit about your journey, because it's a beautiful thing. But like you said, you really have to think about it and weigh your options, and it's
Yeah.
not the easy path, that's for sure. So as you come back to Birmingham and you go to Samford, you'll be pursuing your MBA. Is that right?
Yes, I will be
Yeah. Okay.
pursuing my MBA, because I'm a marketing major here at Auburn.
Oh,
So yeah.
okay. We have more to talk about. No. So when will you start at Samford?
I'm starting this fall. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
starting this fall, and we talked about a little bit of this before we started recording, but
Mhm.
I am there for 2 years. I have 2 more years of college tennis because of my COVID year, and I also redshirted this my senior year. And in case if like people don't know what that is, that's basically where you choose to not play and compete this year so that you could use it again the next year. So
Which is
yeah.
a great option, but still to keep up the rigorous schedule and work just as hard.
Yeah,
That
that is
can be
yeah,
a
it can
tough.
that's definitely a fine line. And that's definitely something I really had to think about when I chose to redshirt this year was like, okay, Lindsay, like it's different to redshirt when you're injured because obviously,
Right,
you didn't have a choice in that. But this
right,
was literally me, choosing to redshirt, even though I know I'm 100% healthy and capable.
right,
Um,
right.
so that was definitely something to consider. But definitely like being because tennis is such an individual sport.
Mhm.
So having a team that you practice with every day and that you guys encourage each other every day, and we're extremely close as well here at Auburn. So having that is makes it a lot easier and a lot more fun too.
Right, right. Well, you have a support group, basically.
Exactly.
You have a group
Exactly.
that I mean, a tough decision to choose to sit out, but to save that for the future. I mean, again, these are pretty heavy decisions that you're
Yeah.
making, and alter the course of the way your world is going. But it's all exciting stuff. I mean, it seems like it's going really well. I mean, you have overcome obstacles for years and years because, like you were saying, with being healthy and making the decision to wait, you have
Yeah.
been through some injury periods
Yeah.
of time, and you've always, done what needed to be done, and you've done the physical therapy and the work, and you come back, and so tell us a little bit about that sort of experience, like, because you've gone through some injuries and you've come back every time. Yeah.
Yeah. I and Jenny, it's quite like because I remember those injuries that I went to in high school, and I
Mhm,
remember it being just like 1 year or maybe a year and a half,
mhm.
um, where I kind of went through a string of injuries, and I was really concerned. I was like, "Is my body like okay to do this?"
Right, right.
And luckily, like knock on wood, I have not had an injury ever since that. Like kind of like one
That's so
year,
great. Good.
like throughout my college, like my 4 years of college tennis so far, like I have been pain free and I felt really good. And so again, knock on wood. Um, but I think that year in high school, or it was like eighth grade, ninth grade. Eighth grade, ninth grade, I tore my meniscus,
Mhm.
and so that's been my biggest injury so far. I tore my meniscus, had to get surgery, had to really take, time off
Yeah.
and basically learn how to walk again and build that muscle up again because obviously with any surgery there's you lose a little bit of your muscle and
Yep. Yep.
physical just health in general. So yeah, that was probably my biggest one. I had a couple of like stress fractures as well in my feet a couple of times. And stress fractures are always annoying too because it's not like you need surgery for that or anything. You literally just like walk in a boot and rest. And because I mean, as the name says, stress fracture. So like
Right. Right.
literally all you can do for stress really is just rest.
To not do
So
anything. It's hard
know,
to not do things when you're used to doing. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. It's so hard. And so um did rehab for that though too and still stayed active. And then I always had a couple of like back like tension problems, and so I kind of had a couple back spasms that same summer of eighth grade slash ninth grade. But I think what helped me the most was, first of all, I think an injury is also a sign that you should probably take a rest unless it's like a freak accident, but it usually also means that you're probably pushing your body a little bit. So I think those injuries were really good for me to take a break first, to force myself to take a break.
Mhm.
And also, I learning through those injuries, I really learned how to take care of my body. What it means to take care of my body, stay hydrated, sleep well, eat well, and find other exercises outside of tennis and
Right.
outside of just like going for a jog. So
Right.
like I remember I did swimming for rehab, even just like small like weightlifting,
Right.
like kind of like with ankle weights and using resistance bands and really just getting creative with other exercise that
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
didn't think that those are strengthening your muscles, but they are, and
They
it's
are.
a big deal. It's really
Definitely.
important. And so, and then also a little bit more discipline comes in with again keeping up with your therapy and your physical therapy and your exercises because obviously the more you do it, the faster you will be able to get on court. So
Right.
being disciplined with keeping up with that was also something I
And
learned throughout those injuries.
that's such a huge testament to coming back from injury is one of the hardest things for an athlete, I think.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
you know, most, I would say, maybe want to come back too soon because you start feeling better. and then you want to
Yeah.
go full speed, and it's hard to kind of rein yourself in and still continue doing the physical therapy, doing the band work, those kinds of things when you are feeling so much better. So to have,
Yeah.
to sort of have the wisdom, to be able to choose to go, okay, if even though I feel better, I still have to follow the doctor's, advice here, and make sure that we complete this 100% when I go back 100%, because we all know re-injury is usually worse than the initial injury.
Yeah.
But it is hard. It gets hard there at the end when it's like you're ready to go.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's definitely patience is definitely key.
Definitely, definitely. So, there's so many things. I could talk to you like all day long, but I'm not going to keep you. But but there's so much in your journey, whether it's overcoming injuries as obstacles, or transferring schools, or COVID hitting, and trying to navigate this whole thing. What would you say? What would you say would be like what keeps you going? Why is this, still you've gone through injuries, you've gone through transfers, you've gone through COVID interruption. What is it that keeps you going?
I think honestly, like my love for tennis, first and foremost, like I, there are days when you get frustrated and tired
Sure,
of it for sure.
sure.
But at the end of the day, I always look back at like the relationships and the friendships that tennis has brought me, the really cool people I've gotten to meet, and also all the experiences and traveling I've gotten to do because of it. And even now, like I get to travel, to all these cool SEC schools and play tennis. And, um, there's also like all of the fun, like little perks of being a student athlete. And it is something special, it is something special to think about like, wow, like my scheduling is hard. Yes. But at the end of the day, like I did that, like I can do it. Um, so I think the feeling of that is what also keeps me going. But at the end of the day, it really is just the pure enjoyment of being able to play a sport while doing school, at the same time. Like I think is so
Gosh,
cool.
I
And
just got chills, by the way.
yeah, I
I'm
think
serious. Like, so,
that is like, yeah, no, I mean, I think it's so cool and so much fun. And it's like life could be a lot harder, you know what I mean, than like going out and getting to play tennis. And
yep.
I think that's honestly what keeps me going, and it makes me so excited to keep up with it. And because it also, like, how I got started was with my family, so it makes me super excited to keep it even after, like, even if I don't join like a league or something, to even just like go out and hang
Right.
out with friends and be like,
It's
hey, do you want to go play
something
tennis?
it's something
you
that's
know
a part of
so
you. I mean,
exactly.
so you'll carry that with you, and do with it whatever you want. So
Exactly. Yeah. No, so
oh my
it
gosh.
like makes
Well,
me happy.
Lindsay, thank you so much for taking the time to
Of
talk some
course.
tennis today and celebrate Tennis Month with us. You've always represented Alabama so well, and so thank you for all your hard work and dedication and
Of
commitment.
course.
Oh my goodness! So it's been just fun to talk to you and catch up. And I know that we'll catch up again soon. But thank you so much.
Oh yeah, it's so good talking to you, Jenny.
It's
I've
good
missed
to talk
you.
to you. I miss you too.